Hey everybody, it's me, Tracy Piink and Mebin, and they are here. I'm really enjoying this thing here.
I'm a queen, I'm a queen, I'm a queen.
And you have no idea what might come out of my mouth.
Hey Tracy, it's great seeing you over here, and I know that these people have no idea what might be coming out of your mouth or what kind of great thoughts you might be having. How has your day been today? I actually had a very interesting day because I had to go walk all the way down to Washington Duke because we actually had a meeting with international broadcast media. So I went on a nice long walk, and I've done that now twice. I should remember that that's about a 2 mile walk, but it's all right. I needed the exercise anyway because, like you, I've been spending too much time at DoorDash and Grubhub. So I needed to get out of the house and get some exercise going on anyway. So it was a good day. And then I've actually ran some other errands as well. So it's been a full day, but lots of running errands here and there, including meeting with the founder of the network. But I always forget when I'm going down there how far of a walk that is. But I did see that they have actually got a new building that was constructed. So there was a new hotel that they were going to try to build, and it is up and running. And apparently they're hiring people now because that's over here on Duke's campus. But I remember when that was first being built, I was thinking this is going to be a while to build. But apparently buildings don't take as long to build. So how was your day going?
Well, my day is excellent. It was a beautiful day today. So if you're gonna walk, this is the perfect day to walk in. It wasn't humid outside and everything. And speaking of these food delivery places, after being locked in the house for a year with COVID, the food delivery places, they're the devil. So you just gotta end up walking and exercising and losing the weight. And that's what we're all doing right now. I think the whole world is trying to walk off that COVID, that COVID weight.
Yeah, they used to talk in college about the freshman 5, the freshman 10, the freshman 15. I think that we might have the COVID 50. So I agree that everybody's walking off that COVID weight. But the other thing that I saw that was really interesting was I think that and I don't know if you've got any pets, but I see the pets are glad too, because I saw a young lady who was walking her greyhound, and another young lady that was walking a dog. I think it might have been a beagle or something like that was named Butter. But it looked like the animals were having almost as much fun because they were going like, "Hey, the humans are finally coming out and playing more," because we were really getting sick and tired of being outside and going for these short walks. Now they're coming out and playing with us like they used to for long stretches, whereas before,
Right.
when we're getting out, we were really getting frustrated because I actually think that I have a kind of identity with pets sometimes, and they were probably going like, I don't want to go for a 5-minute walk. I want to go for a 30-minute walk. That's what I'm used to. And you got me out here for a 5-minute, basically restroom break. I want to go for the long walk.
And they also probably like, when are you going to work? So I could be home alone and lay in the bed. Why are you still here? Like, what's happening? After a whole year, they probably just gave up on it. But yeah, it was a wonderful day. I'm sitting here working on developing my ordering for the cabinets. ARR cabinets. We sell cabinets too, beautiful colors and everything. So we're getting that up and running, and so I've been really working on that strategy. So yeah, so there we go. It's been a great day, and everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you showing up and showing out. What do I do now, Mark?
Well, right now we're going to put on the announcement about your business because you just mentioned that business and everything. So we're going to let people know about that business, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit about the construction industry and your role in it. So right now we're getting ready to let folks know what your company is all about, and then we'll come back and have a whole discussion around that. So hold on one second, and we'll put that on right now. Now we're back, and it's a great company. You're doing all kinds of amazing things in that field of renovations and all of that. I guess one of the questions that I would ask you is, when I meet people in construction industry, I'm oftentimes surprised. Like I said, I mentioned that hotel. I think it's an AC hotel that it went up probably in less than a year in the
Yeah.
middle of the pandemic and all of that. But I am sometimes amazed at how fast these buildings go up. And then I remember years ago, because one of my jobs is working at the Hayti Heritage Center, and I remember when they were doing that renovations over what used to be called Rolling Hills, and I forget what it's called now. But when they renovated that, I met one of the people that was putting up the building, and basically he told me and some other folks waiting at the bus stop that while we might have admired the building might not be all that safe. Because basically what he was saying was that if a good storm came through, that building might have trouble and all of that. And I'm sitting there going like, I don't know that you need to tell me that, because at the time I was looking at it,
Right.
with everything.
Something you want to stand there and listen to someone tell you like what's gonna happen next. Am I gonna get hit in the head with a brick?
Exactly.
You know, speaking of the new construction, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but my one of my friends, he owns a construction company, small construction company. He builds custom homes, and during the pandemic, it's funny how you said that building went up so fast. One of the things that he did say is that the larger construction companies are buying up all the material so that they're able to really put up everything fast, where the smaller construction companies have 6 to 8 weeks, which it's delaying payment, paying the vendors, bank disbursements of money, and they are suffering. And he's closing his doors after 20 years. Wow. So the whole construction industry right now, because you know how wood went up in price so high that things were on hold. People couldn't afford. So let's say you give the bank a budget of $50,000, right, to make a renovation, but then COVID hits and lumber goes up, 60%. Okay, well now that $50,000 budget isn't going to work. It's now $70,000. But the bank is like, no, I'm not paying you extra. So what happens is a lot of the contractors had to eat it, right. Or they're in the hole because of it. $25,000, $60,000. One guy is in the hole, $125,000 because of that. So, the construction industry, it's very much like the real estate industry, very much like an entertainer. It has its ups and its downs. It has times when it's doing really well, and then the times when things are just really difficult for the smaller construction owner. So,
and that's one of the things I was curious about, because even as I was watching your spot about your renovations and everything, I have got friends and families that have been in the farming space, and I know that more recently, those big corporations are the ones that are really running the farming industry. And it seems to me that what you're saying is that could be the case eventually with the construction industry, because it's big farms that really run the farming industry, and small right. farms don't always do that well. So it sounds to me like the pandemic may have forced the smaller building companies, whether they're doing renovations or whether they're doing bigger buildings, to have a more difficult time and to have a harder time staying afloat, while the bigger ones sometimes we might even be getting some of the rescue money that the smaller ones needed. So
exactly. That happened. Yes.
Wow, that's just amazing. Because the other thing that I was just thinking about as you were talking was that I'm glad that my mother and her 3 sisters, one of them passed away not that long ago, they kept the family land, and on the family land is a lot of timber. So I do know that people have come approaching them about buying the timber, and so far we might have sold bits and pieces here and there. But a lot of times we don't even think about generational wealth, because I know that the aunt that passed away, that is now gone to her, I want to say both of her sons, and the other one is still among the other 3 remaining sisters. But like I said, if something was to happen to Mom, I imagine it'd be passed down to me and Malik. The same with the ones that were related to Fred and Vaughn. Vaughn is still living, which is my mother's sister, but Fred has passed away. But if something was to happen to Vaughn, then it would probably go to the next generation, and so on and so on. Because a lot of times people don't think about that generational wealth and how much they might even own that can help with construction. Because I'm glad that we have that timber, and I want to say that it's oak and pine, and there might be some other trees that are very native to North Carolina that could help with building, because we do have a couple of family homes that are on our family properties because they're scattered over several acres. So that's one of the things I don't even know that people think about, even in terms of their own houses,
Right.
because they let things just slip by and don't even think about what they have in the sense of wealth, and which can definitely come even to getting those houses renovated. Because I know that there are probably some properties in our rural land that probably need some form of renovation. If you came by, you'd probably be like, that floor needs to be changed. That wall needs to be changed.
That's exactly how I do. And then also, if you look at the gentrification that went on downtown Raleigh, a lot of the homes that were down there belonged to the generational wealth, belonged to African Americans. They had owned those homes for forever, passed down forever, and they sold them, and then up went the $1 million buildings or houses, or So the same with Durham, the same thing. They cents on the dollar. And now they're selling for $200 per square foot and $300 per square foot, when they were probably paid $6 per square foot. So I mean, a lot of that is happening. The homes that are they want the location, not necessarily the structure. So and that's how gentrification takes place, to be honest. So and then a lot of people, the little bit of money that they get to move. Because of course they don't have the means to turn that investment property into a $1 million structure, So, but it's a lot of good land lost, a lot of generational wealth gone now. So.
Yeah. Totally, because I know one thing that happened, unfortunately, and I'll admit my fault in it as well as my brother's, because he did kind of make it into a party house at one point. But we actually had a house on Cecil Street near North Carolina Central University. The house got into a state of disrepair. So one of the things that Mom decided to do was, after she had bought the house, so that we could be closer to our dad, who is tired of us living with him. So she was like, well, I'll just buy a house for them so they can have their own property and everything. And then eventually Malik got to his own house, and I have moved from apartment to apartment. I think I did have one other. No, that was the only house that I had. But definitely I went more from apartment to apartment. But after that house was in a state of disrepair, Mom was like, I need to flip it. So she basically sold it. And now they have somewhat, the people that bought it, flipped it to some degree as well, because what they did is I want to say, converted it to a duplex. So it's now a 2-house and everything.
Oh, I wish that I had known you then. I would have bought that house from you so quick. That would have been excellent. That's what the kind of things that we look for. We look for houses that are in disrepair, that are in great locations, that steady property value, and look to flip it, buy it and renovate it, and either turn it into a nice rental property, upgrade it, of course, or just sell it as somebody's first home, which usually. So especially in areas, whatever. But now everyone's moving out more towards the Rocky Mount area. That area is growing tremendously.
And that's actually where Mom lives now. She lives in Rocky Mount and has a beautiful home there. She does sometimes threaten that she's going to move here just so she can be closer to her grandkids, my 2 nephews, and also probably somewhat drive me and Malik crazy as well. But that's okay. We love our mama. We love her.
I miss my mama. Be grateful that you have a mom to come and bother you. And
I am not going to lie. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and he does not have a mother and a father that are living either, and he was telling me that I sometimes, even in this day and times, will run across some hard economical times, and sometimes I have to depend and reach out to Mom. And my friend had actually said, I wish I did have a mom to go to when those things and those crunches happen. I would be going there so fast, their head would be spinning, because I would sometimes say how guilty I felt when I would have to reach out to parental figures and everything at my age. And my buddy was like, hey, I wish I had that. You don't know how fast I would be running to them in a minute. So I definitely agree with what you're saying.
That's exactly right.
Now, you had mentioned on the spot, the commercial and everything, about bad decisions, which actually got me to thinking 2 things. One is, what is one of the worst decisions in the construction and or renovation industry that you yourself personally had? And or what are some of the worst decisions that you have seen? Because I'm imagining it's some people that probably come in there and ask you to do some decorations or renovations that, because they were your client, you went ahead and did them. But in the back of your mind, you're going like, you really don't need it to be this color, or you really don't need it to be this kind of decoration, or whatever they had in their mind. So I was just wondering, what are some of the worst decisions that you have run across?
Well, most of the time I do vacant. I learned early on that I do not like to go into other people's homes and actually do work for them unless they're friends of mine, or, I kind of have to be selective about those clients because I need people to listen to me. I feel like I'm designing, that I'm creating like an artist, but it's with a house, and I really do have good taste. And I expect people to hear me, or otherwise I can't work with them. You ever see those artists like, I can't work with them, right? And they get all temperamental. I've actually been that way about paint colors for walls. So it's really a thing. So that's what this show is about, the entrepreneur pinks and blues. It's telling you, I mean, I was in real estate and construction, but it's actually talking about the blues being the lows of being an entrepreneur, trying to create your own income. And the pinks are the highs. This is where, it all pays off. Payday, happy day. Everyone's happy. The house is sold. Everything closed. The profit is made. Yay, yay, yay. But, the path to get there has its peaks and valleys. Right. And having the right mindset, especially in something like real estate, construction, flipping houses, having the right mindset, having the right spirit, knowing that as an entrepreneur that there are mental things or emotional and mental things that you have to get ready for, rejection, having to bow out of a deal and give up money because things aren't working, again, COVID hitting in the middle of construction, and you can't even continue your job, and money's just sitting there and you were counting on that money. There's a lot of things that happen. So that's what we'll be talking about, over and over again, interviewing different people, hearing their perspective, hearing how it is to be an entrepreneur. We want to know, yes, I want to talk about the rewards. I mean, I have been successful. There is definitely a reward behind it. I feel strong and smart, and I'm sure all the other entrepreneurs do when we are successful. But what happens when you fail? Right. What happens when you make a bad decision and never saw that saw the problems coming from that? Like you just would watch all the time, money, and effort that you put in something just go down the drain. How do you handle that? How do you set yourself up and be ready for that? And an entrepreneur is a thing of a spirit. Like, you don't want to just have it where it's just business. It's just people. It's just money. It's also because now it's very personal. If you do not make this deal and it does not close, you cannot pay your mortgage. You cannot pay for your kids' vacation. You can't buy food. You can't buy clothes. It's very personal. It's different from when you have a job. Not to put down people who work a 9 to 5, but it's different because with a 9 to 5, you don't have to create the income. If something goes wrong, usually the company has backup plans. You still will get your paycheck directly deposited into your account. But when a deal goes wrong and you are the creator of your income, there's no money coming in. There's nothing in the bank other than what you probably saved. And a lot of times you put that back and invest that back into your business. And it can be, again, you can be fruitful and multiply, or it's just be a wasteland. But you hear the wind blowing in the tunnel. It's just crazy. So.
Yes, that's just totally crazy. And as you were talking, one of the things I was just thinking about is at some point we're gonna have to get Tarek Freeman on the show and everything, because I don't know if you ever met his dad, but his dad was a very legendary, and actually that's who I want to say helped get us that house that I was referring to earlier and everything. But he was a legendary jazz artist here in the area, and he didn't pass away that long ago. But Freeman Ledbetter was actually, some people would say that he was one of the original creators of what some people now call green homes. And I know green homes are very popular throughout the nation and everything, but he actually had a company called Green Meal, and definitely, like I said, he was developing things along those lines way back in the late 80s and all of that.
Wow,
so people know most of the jazz and everything. And he just recently passed away. And some people will know his daughter Adia, because she's very much of a local jazz artist that a lot of people know. But I was just wondering your thoughts about green houses and green technology, because like I said, there was an article on him back in 2008 in Black Enterprise when they noticed that originally he was going to be a doctor, and then he went into developing these houses, and actually some people referred to him as Dr. Greenhouse because of some of the houses that he built and the way that he incorporated that kind of green technology.
I'm not really familiar with green technology other than the solar panels, but I really have heard some great, of course you see that on the social media and stuff, people talk about things like that, but I'm not really that familiar with my niche is more affordable housing, right. Making sure that people can afford to buy homes that have been renovated, and that it's not so far out of their price point. They can still get a nice size house for a good, in the lower price point of when approved mortgage. So that's more my thing. But greenhouses, I'll look into it. I'd like to interview them, and maybe we could talk about that so I can learn all about it. I'm sure I can learn a lot, and then so can the viewers, of course.
Yep, definitely. And like I said, I know that Freeman passed away, but his son is the one that joined him in the business. So I'm pretty sure that his son is still continuing that business even right now. And that's his son, Tarek Freeman. Because like I said, I won't say it was just the two of them, Tarek and Adia. And I can't remember I know Adia has kids. I can't remember if Tarek does or not. But definitely it is a lot of what you just mentioned. A lot has to do with solar homes and also wood homes, and also kind of like where the homes are built. Because a lot of times when I've seen them, they're very much built in what some people might consider rustic environments, but they can also work as well. But it'll be very interesting to see if we can't get him on. And another person that I have had contact with was, I was just wondering your thoughts. Because a lot of times when people think of construction, they think of the glamour jobs. And of course, one of the glamour jobs is not just the construction worker, but the architect. And another person that also passed away, but it was several years back, was of course the legendary, and I have to make sure that I say the right one, not the son who's the rapper, but the person who was the father, which was Phil Freelon, who of course did a lot of developing everything from the ballpark. I think he was involved in that. I know he's involved in the building of the DPAC, to actually being one of the lead architects over at the African American Historical Museum in Washington, D.C. So I'm just wondering how important in your work has it been to work with the architect? Because we do know that there are a lot of very prominent African American architects here in this area, both historically and even now. So I was just wondering how important was that in your career track as well?
Well, in new construction, of course, it definitely is important to work with an architect. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take a home that's already pre-existing, that has good bones, and we kind of deconstruct it and then reconstruct it, and just really just changing the interior. I do know that there are people that add on like dog ears and stuff, so they can make an upstairs to a house that may have had like a split level, especially in Durham. There's a space upstairs that just hasn't been and the roof isn't high enough, so they'll build onto it to make it an upstairs bedroom, a master bedroom, and things like that. So I mean, you can be homes, once they have the good bones, the good foundation, the good structure, you can really whatever you can imagine on the inside can be done based off the square footage, of course. So a lot of the vendors, I mean, you have your plumbers, your electricians, septic tank, you have HVAC, which is air conditioning, heating, and stuff like that. And it's about using all these vendors and building a team and having a great relationship with them, because that's so important in this business, in designing homes and things like that. So
speaking of being important in this business, I actually know a young lady that's been very much involved in the renovation space, and I want to say that there's a white woman, if I remember correctly, and everything. But I do know that there's not enough in my mind, both women in general and definitely not minority women, in the management level of construction, whether it's renovations or whether it's the more traditional kind of big construction and all of that. So what was it like for you getting in that field? Because from when I met you through Coco, you definitely seem to have that kind of like, I'm not going to take any attitude kind of belief in yourself. So I'm imagining that you're that way in a family, in relationships, and definitely I'm imagining that you were that way in the business field as well, because you definitely seem to be a very strong woman that's not going to put up with a lot of BS. But we do know that these are not fields that are traditionally covered by women in general, and definitely not minority women. So talk a little bit about that experience. Of course, we'll explore this further in some of our shows, but just share with us a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, well, it's changing now. I mean, there are a lot of Black women doing this now, and we're all coming together and helping one another. But I do want to say that I kind of came out, this way. I was 3 years old. I kind of knew I was gonna boss people around. It was pretty much, something in my DNA. I just knew it. But I do understand that it's a role for me. I don't believe in being a boss. I believe in being a leader. I believe in teamwork. I believe in building teams, building relationships. I definitely believe that all things business need to have a heart to it. I am not, I guess, I believe in profit, of course, but I believe that, human life and quality of life is more important. And I find that when people think like that, the prosperity is much fuller all across the board. It's very balanced. So being in this role of trying to create what I was trying to create was something more community filled, as opposed to just having a construction company and a real estate company. Of course, I could not get into all the gentrification and things that went on. I didn't have any part in that, but I did my fair share to try to get affordable housing, anywhere between the price point of $90,000 to $150,000. I tried to get those houses where on the market, nicely renovated for families to move into. It is not easy in this business when you are a woman. It is not easy, to be honest with you, in any male dominated. I always think about the soldiers and the firefighters and the police, and all the women and what they had to go through to break into those areas of expertise. And I can only imagine. I don't even think that if this was the 70s, I would have been able to do this.
Wow.
Not without having a husband or somebody to back me up. The good thing is that the time that I started doing it, people's opinions on what women could do, it started to change. So maybe I had some pressure from people who didn't think that I needed to be in this business. I'm showing up with paint clothes and a ladder and a spray on, spraying paint, and they're like, "You're doing the work." They're expecting something to be ugly just because I don't know how that works, but then just as many people that didn't agree. I was really blessed to meet a bunch of people that did. So that's one of the reasons I was able to keep going. But it's harder when you're trying to get the work done and people are just, not believing that the direction should be coming to you because you're a female, especially on a job site, especially with the workers. It's been a growing experience. I've learned I'm not always as assertive as I need to be. Sometimes I feel like I back down because just to keep the peace, but I've learned a lesson about that too. So now I don't back down at all, not even a little bit. I address it as soon as it happens, but that was a learning curve. I took a lot of licks trying to figure out how to run this the job sites and things like that. Yeah.
And what was it like dealing? Because some of the people that are in there are from different cultures, and some of those cultures can have a taste of a machismo in their work life and everything. So what was it like dealing with that? Because I'm imagining that they were probably not giving you the due respect that you deserve to have as a boss. And I know that even in various injuries, that can be a issue. Because I know that my mom ran a trust fund for years, the Golden Leaf Foundation. I'm sure that even she ran into it as well, whether it was there or whether it was at the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation where she was at before, or maybe even at the radio station that her and my dad found it and everything. But I'm thinking that any of those things, that there might have been people that were not giving her the respect that was deserved because she was a woman leader. And I'm thinking that you probably have had to deal with some of the same things, particularly when there are certain cultures that might be more macho oriented.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's I was the girlfriend, the mom, the sister, it wasn't corporate, so I couldn't even claim sexual harassment to human resources. I was basically on my own. And navigating through that, learning how uh to change conversations, to redirect conversations, learning. I mean, it shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't have to worry about what I'm wearing or what I'm saying or if I smile, just to keep myself safe or not to have to have the confrontation or the correction of someone's, I guess the way that, hitting on me, so to speak. It shouldn't be that way. I'm so against any type, and I consider that to be sexual harassment. But for some reason, at job sites, it's allowed. The climate hasn't changed yet. People are still whistling at the girls. They're still talking, still having conversations that are inappropriate. Still, using the fact that they're a man to kind of be intimidating. I mean, it's a real situation, and it makes you really change, so to speak, and how you want to treat people with respect and kindness when they work for you,
Right.
even though you're paying them, money to work there. You want them to have a sense of, pride, about getting up, going to work, and showing up to work and everything. But it kind of, I mean, it's a difficult place to be and speak with a lot of respect and be cordial and polite. It gets, I don't know what happens, but the translation is, I like you. The translation is, yeah, walk all over me. As it's not the same as corporate. And I have had years and years in corporate, and I do know the difference. So it definitely had me. It was a growing experience being at the job sites. Yes. So
Definitely sounds like it was a definite growing experience. Speaking of growing experiences and everything, I was just wondering, a lot of times, like I said, I've been in this apartment complex for a while, and of course, apartment rates have been going up even in the middle of the pandemic. And of course, everybody's always not asking, not just me, but asking other people, why are you paying $800 to $1,000 or maybe even $1,500, as I know in one case, or $2,000 if you might be living in New York or in Los Angeles, when you can probably pay something similar or
own a house
and
and pay
actually own a
an
house.
$800 mortgage for almost 2,500 square feet. I mean, that's the thing. But a lot happened during 2008. Between 2008 and 2010, it's more difficult to get a loan. It's to fit the criteria. You can get different types of loans, and but to get a conventional loan, and if or FHA, there's a criteria you have to fulfill. And a lot of times, if you're an entrepreneur, it's harder to have that documentation that they're requesting, because being an entrepreneur, the income is sporadic. Again, you don't get a direct deposit of a check every month into your account. You get paid when you work. Right. And if the work is good and plentiful, then you get paid. But what about those lows? And they want to see 2-3 years worth of a consistent same income it's so difficult. So I can understand. And also, when you own a house, it's an awesome thing, but it's a lot of responsibility. If you have the lifestyle where you're constantly busy and you're traveling, I can understand people not wanting to own a property. But this is what I suggest. Maybe you don't want to live in it, but if you can buy a property, own it and then put a renter in it. You want to, because it's an investment, and you want to try to build a real estate portfolio. If I had known that at 30 years old, I would be so much further ahead. I've made so much money for other people because I had the same issue, the same doubts, the same fears as everyone else. I can definitely relate to the procrastination, things that will hold you back. But, my advice is that if I can do it, anyone can do it. Just try. And believe it or not, just try, look into it. It might take a year or two for something to actually come along that will fit what you want or what you need financially and everything. But just if you think about something and you start doing one little thing every day towards it, a little bit of investing in time or just even mental thought or just, daydreaming about it, you'd be surprised how it can manifest into an actual thing. If you don't want to live and have the responsibility of, owning a home, I guess with property management, it's just as much responsibility, but you're getting an income which will pay for all the repairs and the upkeep and everything like that. But it's still giving you an investment, and you can pull off of that if you ever decide you want to do something else for yourself, because you'll have equity in the house, and equity is money. So there's a whole lot we could talk about.
Oh, we're going to be talking about this on the show on a regular basis. I was actually going to bring up one other thing that we'll probably bring up on a later show as well, and then we'll get ready to wrap up this run and everything. But one of the things that I was curious about, because it oftentimes comes up in conversation, and as you were talking about it, I was thinking of another topic that can come up in the later shows as well, because one of the things that I find, and this is, I'm not going to put it on one gender or the other, is that sometimes people are very much interested in getting shared property because in some ways it's a way to cement the relationship together, whatever that relationship is, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, whether it's partners, whether it's husband, wife, or whatever. But we do know that we live in a society that doesn't always work. And sometimes people get divorced and they don't always manage to stay together just because that's the nature of the world in the 21st century. And it was even the way in the 20th century as well, at least the latter part of the 20th century, and probably some people might even argue as far back as the 19th century. But I do know, as even an older single man, that I do know that sometimes that has come up in conversations, and sometimes you're going like, I'm still trying to decide if like the person, and you're talking about buying houses together and things of that nature. So I'm just wondering your thoughts about that. I do find that people sometimes will want to try to like make that a cementing of the relationship, whether it's a shared property, whether it's a shared car, some cases it's a shared business. But I was just wondering your thoughts about that as a person in the housing and construction field, because I'm thinking that you would probably have similar thoughts to me, that y'all need to be sure that y'all really want to do this, and two, if you're going to do it, make sure that it is, the deal is in such a place that if something was to fall apart, that both parties are happy, or as happy as they can be.
Well, and again, that's real life. I mean, anytime you join your assets together with someone else, you do want to have an exit strategy.
Right.
And that's something that should be discussed before you get into it with someone. And one of the things, I have to say, in Fayetteville, a lot of the homes that we purchased at a very low rate was due to divorce.
Right.
People want to get away from each other. They want to just sell the asset, get away from each other. That happens. But never go into something. And this was a hard lesson for me to learn. This can cause a blue in your entrepreneurship. Right. Always have an exit strategy. Right. If there's no, even if it's an exit strategy for 5 years from now, because whatever you're doing, whatever project you're working on, you give it a 5-year lifespan. Always have an exit strategy. And especially when you're taking your personal and mixing it with your financial, right. you want to think about the worst case scenario and have that in writing. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you go and buy a house with someone and you decide you don't want to, the person can stay in the house, you're still going to be responsible for that mortgage.
Right.
That's still on your credit. If they decide to live there or not move out and then stop paying the mortgage, and then you're stuck not living in the house paying the full mortgage. I mean, these things, this is real life. Right. So, it's different when you do an investment and you're going to sell it at the end after the flip, because then you have the quick claim deed. You go to the thing, the checks, nobody's living. It's not affecting where you live. It's not affecting your livelihood, your personal life. This is just business. But when you are incorporating your personal with your financial, I advise you to speak about what would happen, what would be our plan B if this doesn't work? What is our plan B if I want to move? And get it in writing. Even because North Carolina, once you get a date and the signature on something written, it becomes a contract. It doesn't have to be all the legal mumbo jumbo that people think it has to be.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. And I've even seen it happen, not just in relationships, but in family as well, because I know sometimes people will try to give kids and or other relatives and access to housing, property, or whatever. But, sometimes they might fall behind, and then you still have to treat them as you would any other tenant as well. And that can actually put strains on family situations also, depending on what the arrangement was or what they thought the arrangement was and things along those lines. So definitely it can also impact family dynamics, for lack of a better term, and not just.
I've seen people fight over a dining room set, so they're gonna fight over a piece of property. So it is really important to have, even if you own a property, in your will, or even if you don't do a formal will, get it in writing. Who's it going to? Who's going to handle it? It's just it's a sad thing. I mean, like I said, people, they're just being human. And they always think that they need something or want something and are willing to wreak havoc to get it. And then at the end of the day, we all figure out that was all for nothing, because life keeps changing. And then what was so important to you today may not be as important tomorrow. And it's property, it's investment. There's money in it, but there shouldn't be. There's always plenty to go around. Even if you only get a stipend out of it, like the $5,000, you can still take that $5,000 and invest it and grow grow your business or grow your bank account or your finances that way. It's always enough. I mean, $1,000 and the $500 is enough if you really, really want it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just real quick as we get ready to wrap everything up, what is, and I mentioned it earlier, and maybe you can just give one clue, and of course in future shows we'll talk about them, but what is one of the worst decisions in terms of a renovation that you have seen that you were sitting there going like, I can't believe that they want that? Because like maybe they wanted a doghouse in the attic or something off the wall, and that's just something that comes to my mind. But what is something that really threw you off, and maybe you went ahead and built it, or maybe you talked them out of it?
So one of the things I've developed my own pink paint colors. If you look at the intro, there's 3 colors. And the reason I developed those pink paint colors is because people have a tendency to look at pink in a store and think it would look good on the walls.
Right.
And that's what reds, pinks, purples, those colors are, people love them. You'd be surprised. They wanted. I had one lady. She wanted green grout on her white tile. They don't make green grout, so she put the grout down there and took a marker and colored it in. There you go. So so I developed those pink paint colors because they are a pink that will go with furniture and carpeting and doorknobs and light fixtures and you can actually make a room around it, and it wouldn't be like too bright or too dark or just too hideous for your own thing. So that was one of the things. That's why I developed it, because people would pick paint and I'd say, this isn't going to look good on the wall. And then they want to make it shiny and buy semi-gloss. Well, you don't want a semi-gloss room. You don't want a semi-gloss room because it's shiny, and the walls are glowing when the lights are on. So, I've had to talk people out of things like that and kind of, paint one whole wall to just show them, look, when this dries, it doesn't look like it looked in the store. And then they see it. So a lot of times it's just patience. I'm going to tell you something. Having clients to me is just like when I work with adults and children with autism, it's more like on the case management, social working type of aspect. It's the same mindset, because I'm going in to do work, but I'm doing it in someone's home. I'm doing it in someone's biggest investment. It's very close and personal to them because they have a lot to lose or they have to live with it. So you have to be kind and patient and talk them through it and show them examples. But I won't work with someone that won't listen to me. I refuse to do it. It makes my blood pressure go up. And then I say things that I don't like to say to people that I know that God wouldn't like to hear. So I don't work with them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we're gonna ready to wrap everything up. We'll put up your announcement spot and everything. But you've totally disappointed me, Tracy, because you just told me that I cannot have my Prince purple room if I ever get a house, and I cannot have my emerald green room either. So because of that, you just told me that these colors will not work. So I cannot have my Prince purple room complete with maybe some Prince album and emerald green because green is a cool color.
We can do an accent wall in purple. And we can put some texture on and make it look velvety or something.
Okay.
But we're not going to do the whole room. This is giving off the wrong vibe. But, we could find a good purple and do one accent wall.
One accent wall? Can we do an accent wall with emerald green?
Yes, you could. I love emerald green. Emerald green actually does look really, really, really nice on walls. But you just can't do a whole room. It's just too dark, in there. Unless So I'll help you out. I'll help you. I'll help you pick the color that you want along with another color, so you can put them together and have a balance.
Sounds like a plan, and we'll have some other people coming on. So this has been a good test run, and hopefully we'll be doing this on a regular basis. So we're going to put the spot on and let folks know about your lovely company, and then hopefully we'll be back on either next Friday or next Saturday with the first official launch. Maybe it'll be a rerun of this, but definitely we'll bring this on, and right now we'll go from there.